Be great. Just conscious that we haven't got a lot of people, so we can actually make it a little bit more interactive than usual. So please do type in the chat, and if you want me to unmute you, or if you want to unmute yourself, that's absolutely fine for today. I don't think we're going to get into a situation where we're talking over each other. So I'm actually happy, if you are, for people to unmute themselves. Oh, just had another person join. Welcome. We're just about to get started, so welcome to the session. Now, guys, if you do have questions, please do type them into the chat. Like I was just saying, we haven't got a lot of people, so if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, that's fine too, but let's see if we can get through this content. So what we have today is a session all about job hunting and your well-being. And as the name suggests, this is recognizing the fact that job hunting can be a taxing task. It does involve motivating yourself, exerting energy and effort, but also recognizing that there's going to be high points and low points during the job search, and trying to create good habits to keep yourself in a positive space while you're job hunting. And what we've done here, because we're not counselors, we're definitely going to steer on the side of careers guidance here. But what we've done, we've taken a model for mental fitness and well-being as on a whole, and we've tried to just change the model and recognize good bits of the model and try and adapt it to include elements of job hunting that you might all be going through. So what we're going to be doing is taking the model for well-being and flipping it and trying to recognize how we can adapt that to job hunting and careers as a whole. So let's get going. Okay, so you can see on the left-hand side is your model, and we're going to be working through that at a steady pace. The first one here recognizes the fact that when you're job hunting, you have to really think about yourself. You have to acknowledge the fact that job hunting is a full-time job. It does take up a lot of time. And if you're doing it correctly, and if you're recognizing the fact that you have to change applications, you have to read about organizations, you have to actually think about why you want to do the job before you start to put together a CV, then job hunting very much is a full-time job. And it's important in that situation to recognize that you work well at certain points of the day, and to take time out and also chill out a bit when you think that you're not performing at your peak performance, and you think, you know what, I need to take a little bit of a break to maximize the opportunity of getting an interview for this job. The second point, and I feel powerfully about this, is use your day wisely and your night as well, and work smart. Now, what is work smart? If somebody said to me, oh, go on then, Raj, define what work smart is, my answer would be, it is different for all of you, and we have to personally recognize what working smart is for ourselves. Somebody said to me, Raj, how do you think that you use your day wisely? Well, for me, it's waking up really early. It's going to bed at a sensible time. I don't work well at night, but you might be different. So what this is about is recognizing the fact that job hunting is a full-time activity. If you are going to need to schedule your time, it's important to sit down and do a bit of self-reflection to recognize, okay, when am I at my peak performance? When do I work well? Because you need to recognize that job hunting is about selling yourself. What you're trying to do is recognize the employer's needs and sell your skills and experience to them. So even if you're doing a CV or an application form, it's very much the sales process you're going through. You need to recognize that you can't sell anything to anybody until you understand both the customer, that in your case is the employer, and you understand the product, and that in this case is our own skills and experience. We're selling our skills and experience. We need to take time to understand what we can offer different jobs, different industries. We need to recognize our strengths and also our weaknesses. And what job hunting is about is thinking about how you're going to put that forward, how you're going to articulate it either on paper or how you're going to articulate it one-to-one on an interview or a video interview. So how do you find out what time works for you and what me time is? You know, it's about peak performance, but it's also about trying different activities when you could take a break as well. Make sure whenever you do take time out, that it puts you in a good place so that you come back stronger and you come back, you know, thinking about, right, all right, I'm in a good space now. I'm actually ready to start job hunting. So the first part of the model recognizes the fact that you've got to schedule time effectively. And that also means taking some time out as well. The second one is talking about rewarding yourself. We've already talked about how job hunting is time consuming, but we need to recognize this and we need to understand that this may be a 3 to 6 month process with good days and bad days, and how we need to celebrate some of those little victories whenever they come along. That might just be, you know, I set myself a target of trying to create, of trying to complete this job application in 3 days, and I've reached third day, and I've actually think I've got to a point where I'm ready to book an appointment with my careers consultant, and I want somebody to have a look at it, want to have a chat about the content. So celebrate the fact that you've achieved those little milestones. And it is important to set yourself mini targets, you know, that don't really think about constantly, when I get my job, that's the final goal line. When I get my job, that's you know, that's what success is going to look like. And try and think about small mini targets that help you tick off your achievements. Make sure these are achievable and very measurable. So little small things like, I'm going to spend a day researching this industry, and I'm going to see by, you know, day 2, can I have a list of different jobs that I like within this industry for me to go and discuss with my careers consultant. Use your appointments in your careers consultancy time really wisely. Throw them in whenever you feel that you need to have a discussion with somebody. That can also help you to just do some reflection out aloud with your careers consultant. Remember, you've got a dedicated careers consultant for every single course here. So what a careers consultant can do is we can help you keep track of your success and also keep you motivated and recognize the fact that you're not on this journey alone. You know, there's lots of other people job hunting. So speaking to your careers consultant can help you to just recognize the fact that, you know, there are positives in this search, even though you might not feel that, you know, the job offer is right, you know, on the horizon. To celebrate those little bits of success and those mini achievements that you've been able to hit. I love this one. The model says play to your strengths. Now, in order to do this, we all have to, and again, it's different for all of us. It takes some time to sit down and reflect, but recognize what you're good at. And again, you know, the careers consultants can help you do that. Recognize where your strengths are. So some of us might be particularly strong at the psychometric test. Others might be better in the interview. Some of us might really like, you know, writing and articulating our skills and experience on a CV or an application form. What's key to all of this is that you make your strengths count and you use them on a daily basis. So you recognize the fact that you're good at, and you use that in the job hunting process just to differentiate yourself from the competition. The other part of that element of playing to your strengths is recognizing the skills and experiences you have, however small they may be. And what I'm talking about here is, even if you've done, I don't know, some informal tutoring of brothers, sisters, cousins, even if you've helped one of your peers, another student, learn a particular language or learn a particular software or improve at Photoshop, whatever it may be, sell the fact that you've done that. And however small it may seem to you, you know, recognize the fact that we need to be putting our skills, our experiences, and our strengths underneath a microscope when you're job hunting, to really think about, right, how am I going to be able to pitch myself at an employer? The model at point 4 goes on to talk about how we should be asking for and offering help. And I think this is a really important part of job hunting. I think it's, there's 2 elements to this. Yes, recognize when you need to ask for help, but also talk about your job hunt. Recognize the fact you're not doing this alone. There are lots of people out there that are job hunting, and you may be able to help them, and vice versa. They may be able to help you. I mean, as students here at Brunel, you do have lots of support open to you. I would encourage you to recognize all those different services. Today, as a team, we were just talking about the different language services that are open to students. Recognize the fact that you have quick query appointments, even if you haven't pre-booked your careers consultant appointments, which are 30 minutes, we still have those 15-minute quick queries. So you've got lots of help available to you, and some of it is available on a drop-in basis as well. Recognize the fact that most job hunters are happy to help others, and it can be really beneficial to engage in sort of that mutually beneficial conversation about job hunting. It might take some heat off you, it might take some stress off you, some pressure off you, to talk to others, share what you've been going through, and hear about what they've been doing well and what they feel is maybe restricting them in their job search as well. That 2-way conversation might just help both of you progress through job hunting and increase your level of enjoyment throughout the whole process. There is definitely a feel-good factor you get from helping somebody else. So just recognize that conversation might actually help you to walk away from the conversation and just feel like, yeah, okay, I recognize the fact that everyone's going through this. And I am going to start to think about how I might be able to help others and when I need to ask for help as well. This is something that's particularly something that I'm passionate about. It talks about job hunting being a task which requires energy and effort. And the point that I always think about is when I was a recruiter, I used to run a lot of assessment centres face to face at that time, and hopefully when we're through with all the fun stuff of COVID, we all get back to doing more face to face interviews and face to face assessment centres. But when I used to run them, I definitely could tell the participants, and they weren't always graduates, they were senior hires as well, but I feel I could always tell the people who were able to maintain a level of energy as they went through the day. And I used to do assessment centres sometimes that started at 9 and they wouldn't finish until about 5 o'clock. Performing at your best does need, does need for you to think about and recognize diet, sleep, physical activity, to recognize the fact that, job hunting is taxing. When you're going for an interview, you will find that you need to perform at your peak performance. You do need a good night's sleep, as basic as it all sounds, in order to maintain energy and your enthusiasm. You need to recognize all of these things, like, your diet and obviously sleep. And doing these activities when you feel, you're at your best, like we've recognized already earlier in the model. Eating cleaner and healthier may help you to feel good. Now, we can't generalize here. Again, this is about you going through this model after we've finished, recognizing what we've talked about, and then maybe thinking about good practice. What can I do, having listened to this and having recognized the model and thought about how it fits into job hunting? What might I be able to do to just, even if I take 2 bits of this, what might help me? It might be something as simple as I'm gonna start to recognize the fact that I do need to have eaten an hour or 2 before I do any interviews. It might just be something as small as I need to make sure that I've got a good amount of rest and I feel rested and I feel positive before I sit down to start to doing a job application. Me personally, I truly do believe that has an impact. Again, start to think about how you work and how you might be able to improve the level of performance in interviews, CVs, application forms, and everything else that's involved in job hunting. We've said it's a long process, so sometimes it may be beneficial for you to take a break from job hunting, just to remain fresh and energetic. I mean, recognize the fact that you don't need to be spending hours and hours on an activity if you feel you're not moving forward. At that point, maybe it's a good time to sit down and reflect on what you're doing well and what you're not doing so great, and also book an appointment with your careers consultant. Say, I feel like I'm spending too much time on certain activities. What might I be able to do? Take some time away. The model earlier spoke about taking some time out and doing activities that basically mean you feel more positive when you come back to sitting down at your desk and starting job hunting again. Downtime doesn't have to be something, hugely exhilarating, and it could just literally be taking some time away from the activity that is job hunting. What you don't want to do is just find yourself sitting in front of an application form or practicing interviews just in an hour, and you feel like you're not moving forward. At that point, please do ask, have a conversation with somebody else that's job hunting, or take some time away. Yeah, the slide sort of says it could just be taking a walk in the garden, but recognize what works for you. Okay. The next one's not going to work for all of us, and we must recognize this before we go through the slide. So the model says get regular physical activity. Now, again, that doesn't mean go for a 10-mile jog. It could literally be just taking some time out, a gentle walk. The model says that exercise helps the body to release positive energy. For me, that works. Again, recognize what works for you. Being outdoors, getting fresh air might help some of us. Definitely doesn't have to be strenuous exercise, but think about the time of the day that you think exercise is going to work for you and how it might affect and what the knock-on effect might be of that break or that little bit of exercise on your job hunting. The bottom line is do what works for you, but we've got to reflect on what works for us and try different things. You might need to, trial out a few different things. You don't have to believe the hype about, certain things like, yoga helps at this point of the day or running this much during the day. Don't get caught up in all of that. Just try different things, see how it works for you, and see how much it's affecting your job hunting. It's very personal to each of us. I think the next one's excellent. We spoke a little bit about celebrating our successes. It is a great idea to keep a record of your positive achievements when you're job hunting. Sometimes it's a good idea just to be able to flick back and think, you know what, I need to just have a look at everything that I've done well. Go back through my journal of activity and think about, look, I know I haven't got my job offer yet, but look at all the good stuff I've been doing. Try and keep your targets very realistic. Don't be too hard on yourself. Work through those, they might just be weekly targets. Again, these are going to be personal to you. I mean, I get asked a lot of times, Raj, how many applications should I be sending a week, a month? Now, this is personal to you, but you need to think about balancing quality and quantity. It's not a good idea just to machine gun your CV out into the marketplace and not recognizing the fact that that CV and that application has to be tailored towards that particular employer's needs. So, this is about setting very realistic, achievable, and yes, measurable targets. Like I said, it's a good idea to reflect through some of those notes that you've kept in. It's going to make you feel good. It's going to give you more ideas, maybe help you reflect. And yes, I think it would definitely help me to get energized and to start thinking about, all right, I've been able to have some good success here. However small it may be, let me just keep on moving forward. All of those things that we've mentioned on that slide, will help you to have and start to think about different topics that you might want to discuss in your careers appointments. The next thing talks about relaxation. Again, it's a bit more about time and taking time out. Find activities to keep you relaxed and stress-free as you go through this job hunting process. It is going to be taxing. People are going to ask you questions like, have you found a job yet? Have you had any interviews? Try and think about different activities to take your mind off those long-term targets, keep you positive and achieving your short-term goals. Try different activities like we said before. But this might just be something about, giving your day a bit of structure. Trying to think about, what part of the day do I work well? How much time should I be spending? And try and think of it maybe as you would in the world of work. I'm going to give myself almost like a 2-hour window on certain activities. And then I'm going to do something different. That might help some of us just to stay focused and energized on the overall task of job hunting. The model says things like keep a track of how many hours you sleep and read about strategies to help you close your day and get better rest. Again, this might work for some of us, it might not work for others. Personally speaking, I think that's a good idea. It does work for me, but you're not me. Think about what works for you. Think about what helps you to stay in a positive place and be fully rested and to maximize your time when you're job hunting. Are there any questions or thoughts at this point? We've come to the final point, and this will help us to just do a bit of a summary, but are there any questions at this point? Do you want to type in the chat? Or if you want to, you can unmute yourself and you can share some thoughts. Any thoughts on good practice? What have you done that works? Anything here that you think particularly has touched a nerve that you want to discuss, or any questions that you have? I know this can be quite a personal subject, so if we haven't got questions, absolutely fine. We can start a bit more of a general conversation at the end. Okay, let's work through it then. So the final point says, choose a very positive attitude. Try and keep yourself in a good place. Keep track of your good days. Remind yourself of your daily good habits. We've spoken about quite a few of them. Avoid those negative conversations and the online chat. Let's keep it all positive. Don't get involved in, oh, the market's terrible, there's no jobs out there, oh, COVID's ruined everything. There is also a positive side to things. Every issue has a silver lining. Think positive. It's going to help you to move forward. Surround yourself with those people that are good, positive, and help you to reflect in a positive way and have a positive impact on you and your overall job hunting. It's about thinking about, this is a bit of a long journey. I want to keep myself in a good place. I recognize the fact there's people here to help me. Let me work on this. Let me do a bit of reflection on how I'm going to be able to perform at the best. You do need to sit down and think about, okay, this is time consuming. This takes time and effort. It's not just about doing one CV and sending it out into the marketplace, as we've mentioned. This is going to take some time and effort. And in order for that to happen, I'm going to need to sit down and reflect on the fact that, yes, job hunting is a task that's going to need me to reflect on some of the points that we've mentioned in this model today. Just going to open the chat. I've got a question here. It says, hi, I'm keen to ask for your advice on how to self-motivate for repeated rejections. I think that's a really, really good question. Now, what you've got to do basically is think about, where are those rejections coming from? Think about the different companies, think about the different industries. I think the first thing that you should be doing is booking a careers appointment, reflecting on which companies it was that you got the rejections from, what type of job. Sometimes, and you have to recognize this also, it's just that you're coming really, really close, and the difference between you and the candidate that got the job was 1 or 2%. And that's happened to me as a recruiter. So please do recognize that fact, okay? And don't always think of it as defeat. I mean, sometimes I had 3 candidates in my shortlist. I've interviewed them all 3 times. I've let the hiring manager interview them, and really the difference between them is that minuscule 1 to 2%. And the person that got it was just the one that the hiring manager thought they could work with just a little bit better. So it was hardly anything in it. So keep it positive. Talk to your careers consultant. Reflect on those applications. Think about those companies and the jobs. Let's look back through those applications, and this is a key point. Keep the applications that you send so that at least you can reflect on how well you wrote them. Think about the interviews, discuss those interviews with your careers consultant, and let's reflect on your performance. A little mock interview with your careers consultant might bring up some more ideas, but just sort of think about those kind of things. Yeah, keep it positive, and remember, you know, the careers consultants are hugely, hugely talented and experienced team, and you know, and we're all lucky that Brunel's got this amazing team of careers consultants. So let's utilize the skill set that we've got in those careers consultants. But great question, and I think it's one that a lot of people think about. So thank you for asking it. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions? We've kind of come to the end of our time, but we did start a little bit later, so I think we can carry on for a bit. Any other thoughts or comments on anything that we've discussed, or anything that you're thinking about in terms of job hunting? Anyone want to come off mute and say anything? That's fine with me. Okay, sounds like we've come to a bit of a natural close. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. Please do engage with all the other workshops that we're offering. I think, as I've said earlier, you're very lucky. We've got an amazing team of careers consultants here. The link on screen is the URL for booking appointments and for our general website. Got a quick question. Can you use this meeting for Brunel Plus Award? Ben, I think you can probably say that you've engaged in a workshop, and that will help you. But just check with the Brunel Plus team. But I'm sure you get points for attending different workshops. But please do verify that. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions before we wrap up the session? Excellent. Thank you, Carly. So Carly just jumped in there and said, yes, you do. And she's going to email you some stuff after the session. Thank you very much for the presentation. I honestly didn't see job hunting as a full-time job because I do feel tired sometimes. Yeah, it is. You know, job hunting for me, and I came up with that term when I was a recruiter. People don't recognize how much time, effort, and energy it should take, and it should if you're doing it properly. Yeah, so I think it's, you know, it's something that we do need to recognize. Is it possible to schedule a meeting with a counsellor who's more experienced in a particular stream? Yes, definitely. We've got an amazing counselling team here, but if you wanted to book a careers consultancy appointment, as soon as you click on the link and book an appointment, careers appointments will only be with the people that look after your industry. So as soon as you book a careers appointment, it will be with the careers consultant that looks after your particular area. Yeah, I've got a comment here about job hunting being full-time, and sometimes, yeah, I'm working part-time, so I feel it. Yeah, and I think one of the key points to recognize is sometimes you kind of have to manage those part-time hours and recognize the fact that, you know, part-time hours, as much as a company might be pushing you to take more hours, you've got to set your goal and set your eyes on the longer term goal, which is your graduate job offer. And I might need to push back, manage upwards my part-time job manager and say, this is what I feel I can do, because you need to allocate those hours to job hunting because it is time consuming. Will this PowerPoint be circulated to the attendees? Carly's jumped in and said yes. Excellent. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions before we wrap up for today? Okay, excellent. Guys, thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully that's been thought-provoking and giving you maybe just a few ideas on what you can do, and some of the tips and hints and what the model is suggesting might help us all to recognize what is going to work for us in our job hunting, to stay in that positive space that we can effectively job hunt. Thanks very much for joining me. Thank you, Carly, for putting everything together. And I look forward to seeing you all in future sessions. Thanks very much.